Waiting on the simulcast. We're going to go live in a minute. Technical difficulties at the moment. We simulcast this, so we've got 6 other chambers that'll be watching in with you. So we'll go live here in just a second as soon as he gets camera working. We've got several chambers online joining us. They'll be watching the PowerPoints and picking up the audio. So I'm going to go ahead, and if you guys have questions, she'll repeat your question when you ask it, and it's just so the other end can hear everything that's happening today. So first of all, I want to thank you all for coming today. We have a great turnout for this. So it tells me you're all looking at how to get better online with your websites, and we have the expert, Katie Patterson, here. Dear friend of mine has volunteered to give us everything she knows and the top 5 things you need to know. So Katie Patterson founded Happy Medium with 2 guiding principles: honesty and transparency. With a strong background in media buying and account management, Katie launched and bootstrapped Happy Medium after seeing a need for an authentic approach in the market. Since 2011, the company has expanded to accommodate its ever-growing list of clients, services, employees, but its guiding principles have stayed the center of all of Happy Medium and what Katie does, while simultaneously achieving more than 1,000% revenue in just 4 years. So she knows what she's doing. Katie has been awarded the Iowa Women of Innovation's Rising Star, Business Record's Best Up-and-Coming Business Leader, and has been included in the 40 Under 40 class for the Business Record. Under her leadership, Happy Medium was also named Inc.'s 5,000 list for 3 years in a row, and that is a national recognition, and our very own Katie Patterson is on it. Katie Patterson has also been featured in Adweek Inc., American Express Open Forum, the Des Moines Register, and the Business Record. So let's thank Katie for her time today, and we'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today. Great to meet all of you. I'd love to start off by just hearing a few different people telling me why you're here today, what your business is, and let's go there. Who's going to be brave? Go for it.
Bernard Stone, New York Life. Business is helping consumers meet their needs, and I started my website 2 weeks ago and looking to capitalize on that.
Congrats. Who else? Yeah. Great.
What do I need? So I have that website up and running, but I haven't changed it at all in about a year.
Got it. Good and great name. What else? One more I want to hear. Who else? Be brave. Yeah.
Mark Doherty with MD Program Evaluations. I designed a internet site about 3 months ago. My nephew doesn't like it. So that's
It's called My Nephew Doesn't Like It?
no, my nephew doesn't.
Oh, your nephew doesn't like it. But that's a different good business idea, maybe. Cool. Well, like I said, I'm Katie Patterson. I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you, Christina, for having me. I'm CEO and founder, like she said, at Happy Medium. And we consider ourselves, let's see if this is working. Nope. It's on. I do know tech. Not always, but. For those of you that have heard of us, you may have noticed in the last week and a half, we launched an entirely new brand. This was everybody, often people have come up to me in the last week and a half saying, oh my gosh, that was so smooth and it looks so great. And it was about 2 years worth of work to launch this brand. We changed truly everything overnight. We did a midnight launch with everything from physical signage in our office to our website to our social platforms and everything in between all of that. Ultimately, I started the company in 2011, like Christina said, and was primarily doing media buying. My background before that was on the sales team at Channel 13 and an agency even prior to that. But I was on my own, and my business plan said to have no employees, which has evolved a little bit. But so now we consider ourselves a full-service digital creative agency. And we're unique in the fact that we do still all traditional things and place a lot of traditional media, TV, radio, all of that thing in about 10 different states. But our first and foremost strength is digital. So we launched this new brand. This Friday will be 2 weeks, and our tagline with that has been Digital with Heart, which we're going to talk about today. And this new brand really signifies so much more of who we are and where we're going in the digital space and certainly in the creative space. Our company values are curiosity, happiness, integrity, and teamwork. And like Christina said, building the company on honesty and transparency was a really big foundation of the reason that I started to begin with. When I was at Channel 13 on the sales team, often agencies were my client, not necessarily the end client. And I felt like sometimes they weren't doing the best work on behalf of their client, but I was sort of stuck in the middle, not being able to go directly to a client and, having that conversation. So the foundation of me starting the agency and being able to talk with people and clients in the way that I felt like they needed to know all the information has really translated even more into the digital world, which is such a complicated world. And, you just hear the word code or development or anything, and it can be very overwhelming, and you don't know where to start. So that's been even more important as we've continued to evolve into who we are. Our capabilities are, of course, web design and development. We do digital and traditional media buying. We do SEO, SEM, graphic design, and if it's online, we do it. And that type of thing, and as well as video. You can skip through those. So today I'm here to talk about the top 5 things that you need to know about your website. And I could talk about the top 500 things, but I will reserve it to 5 because this is the lunch hour, and not as many people get excited about websites as I do. So today, I'm going to go through those 5 things. I really want you to feel like you can ask questions even during this while we're on each of these talking points. There's a lot of specific things that each of you are here to find the information out on, and in web, there's a lot of customization. So please feel comfortable at asking questions. Also feel comfortable tweeting or being on your phone. I'm addicted to mine, and it's okay to admit your own flaws as well. Okay, so your website. I know that we are so deep into the web world, but it blows my mind the amount of people that we meet with, especially business owners, that, my question to them right out of the gate when they're saying, we're looking to get more customers, or we want to, sell more of this product or that service. And, one of the first things, of course, I will say is, let's open your website. Let's take a look at that. And often I am met with a response of, ooh, I don't know if I want you to pull that up. I sort of had my nephew do it. a few years ago or whatever, and I don't remember the logins for it, to be honest, which is why that person who doesn't work here anymore is still on the homepage, and all of that sort of thing. And they get this like website shame thing going on in our office because they assume we're website judgy, which is an accurate assumption. So I right there out of the gate start digging into a conversation of like, why has this been ignored? Why did you not consider this also your storefront? You likely, especially if you're a retail space or truly any industry at this point, you likely have significantly more people on your website than are ever coming to your office. So it blows my mind the impression that you aren't concerned about in that place and what you're not investing in. And so, then my next step is always, do you have analytics? Of course. Well, the answer is usually no. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But beyond just does your website look like, the experience that they would have if they walked into your office or into your store? That's our first and foremost goal when we're building a website. We want them to have the same experience that they would have if you were right there in front of them or if they were sitting in your office. We need that to translate because it's a first impression, and obviously everyone in here knows the value of a first impression. Then the next step, thank you so much, is, where are we here? Way ahead. Oh my goodness. You guys know all the secrets. Okay, so then the next piece that is really important with that we'll dig into is what traffic is even on this site and what's happening and what information are you looking at. If you're a retail, you have a pretty good idea of about what kind of traffic is walking in, what days are your busier days, what times are your busier times, your staffing around those times, all of those sorts of things. I need you to know that about your entire website. I need you to know what are peak times, what are people doing when they're there, and what are they not doing when you're there is also just as much of an important, conversation. So it's really digging in. And I always tell people, you need to consider your website one of your team members. So your website should be selling for you. Your website should be communicating your brand for you. It's important we truly, truly encourage clients to think of it as a team member. So if you are working as an owner or a leader in your company, if you're consistently working with team members, at my small company, I have one-on-ones with all of our department leads once a week. During those one-on-ones, I'm saying things like, how can I support you? How can you grow this week? What are you doing to evolve the company this week? What are you doing to evolve your skill set this week? And these are, try and get yourself in a mindset where you're thinking of your website in the same way. So websites are not set it and forget it. We changed our tagline at Happy Medium to Digital with Heart because websites for us are living and breathing. The internet is living and breathing. We all spend way too much time on the internet every single day. So your website needs to be something that you don't launch and then, you're like, oh my goodness, thank goodness that's done and I never have to log in again. And I understand that's super difficult. We are a digital agency. I have developers sitting in my office and designers and a whole full staff that everyone would dream to have to do just managing on your website, and even it's difficult for us. So I totally understand that. But in the same way that you would set a one-on-one with your team member, set time aside to review your website. So just quite literally put a calendar event, at least let's make a small goal once a month for a half an hour where you will not ignore that calendar reminder because you're busy that day. And you will sit down or you will delegate this role and you will make sure and follow up that it's getting done. Every single month, you should find something on your website that needs to be updated, staff members, all of that kind of thing, all the way to, do you have a blog? And it says 2013 was your last post. Or do you, are you seasonal? Are you a business that's seasonal? So start making a game plan for what might change on your site versus that. Our new site, has a lot of animations in it. Animations are a new trend in web design, and you'll see that over the next few years now. We like to be, of course, on the forefront of that. So our new site actually ties to the Des Moines weather. When you're on our website, if you go to it on the homepage, today you'll probably see some modern-looking clouds floating by. You won't know it's weather, and you won't know that it's tied to the weather, but now you do. And luckily for us on brand launch day, there was wind, rain, and cloudiness happening. So, but how can you make your site engaging and a reason that people are going to continually come back to it? Having fresh, relevant, up-to-date content is a big way. Even on our site now, if you're there in the morning, it will say, hello, good morning, how are you? And then at night it would say, good evening, how are you? So you know that this is a site that is living and breathing. Next up, sorry, got a little lost in here. Got a little off. Okay, so next up, next is goals and objectives. Here we are, great. You will want to then at this point sit down with your team or your leadership or your organization that you're working with to do your website and figure out what you want your site to do. We do not start any website projects without the first questions of what do we want this website to do. So again, thinking of it as a team member, you would not post a job description for a new team member without considering what role this is going to play, what assets they're going to bring to your team, and how that's going to work. You need to have the same for your website. And during those monthly those monthly reviews that you're sitting down and looking at your site, you will have ideally Google Analytics installed. That's free to have on your website. Google doesn't charge for that, so make the most of that. So you should tie those goals all the time, every single month, back to those. You should be saying, I've decided I want to get 10% more, conversions on this site for lead requests, or I've decided I want 20 more people per month to sign up for our email newsletter, or whatever those numbers are. Give some sort of benchmark so that you can look at those, and when you have success with that, set a different benchmark, and when you aren't having success for that, dig in, figure out why, and make it happen. Because your website, again, should be working for you. I really can't say that enough. And then your company mission and making sure that that's always being translated. Companies evolve, especially a lot of times we're working with smaller companies who are changing and growing. Making sure that your website constantly reflects who you've evolved into is also really important. Okay, analytics. So, how many of you have Google Analytics installed in your website? Ha-ha. When's the last time did somebody look at their analytics within the same month? Ooh, so exciting. Congratulations. So, Google Analytics. It is a tool, if you're not familiar with it, that Google has, you can install in your website. It's a both easy and incredibly complicated tool. You can install it in your site or have somebody install that for you, and you'll right out of the gate get a lot of basic information. Page visits, traffic, all of that. When you are working with like if you were working with our team, we would also then tie these all back to these goals. So you can set up analytics at a top level to manage and monitor some top numbers like the visits and things, or you can really set it up to monitor conversions in certain areas, actions. There's honestly an unlimited amount of different things that you can track in there. So the thing to know about Google Analytics is it can do so much more than page visits, and make sure that you're working with someone who can help guide that or set that up or do your own research to figure out how to set that up. All of those things, of course, are available for you online. So make sure that you are caring about that. Users, sessions, top devices people are going on. Analytics are so important. I potentially at least twice a week sit in a meeting where clients will say, I don't feel like this is happening, so I don't feel like we need to do that, or I don't feel like we need to implement this because I don't think that people are caring about that or reading that. And we often tell them we base our decisions on facts, not feelings. And so that can help you also make a lot of decision. If your time is limited and you don't have all the time in the world to build the most robust blog or to constantly be updating something, before you decide to invest your time in doing that, use your analytics to decide if somebody's on that page. It seems like that doesn't happen enough. We were just having a conversation yesterday about a new client site we're working on should we just have all their photos for the bio section with their name and title, or do we want an interior page for each person that really digs into like their bio and who they are and anything about them? And we did this client site a few years ago now and are doing a refresh. So we used Google Analytics to make that decision. I think it was the top interior page of that bio was the 33rd visited page on that site out of like 35 pages total. So, that gave us our answer, and the client got to save both time and money by not needing those interior pages. We didn't need to build those, and they got to move that to something that made a lot more difference for their website. So don't, if you call your mom and ask if she's reading your bio page, the answer is going to be yes. But don't use feelings. Use, the data and the facts. And if you want to know about them, then just get them set up. If you don't have Google Analytics currently, don't stress out about that. Just get it set up, and then then you'll have a benchmark from there. Next, your domain. A domain is for anyone that doesn't know, just in case, the www.itsahappymedium.com. That actual domain is what you own. Happymedium.com, just so you know, is $125,000 if anybody's looking for a birthday gift. My birthday is Friday. So just let me know. But it's always my answer to if you won the lottery, which I think is a cool answer, but maybe not. Anyway, so your domain. A couple things on domain is, having making sure you have the logins for it. I also can't tell you how many times we've so sadly worked with people who lost their domain because they didn't have it set up for auto renew. So make sure yours is on auto renew. Make sure that it's going to an email that's not some random person on your team. Make sure that you have that, or like in our case, our company control is like accounting at It's a Happy Medium, where there's this filter group. So it's not stuck in my email, but it's an easily accessible email with all sorts of passwords and logins. And then, of course, having one department that is in charge of that is great. The next is SEO. SEO is, of course, search engine optimization. So at the top of the website, when you Google something, at the top, there'll be the paid ads that come up. That's called SEM, search engine marketing. And then normally there'll be addresses to a few business locations, and underneath that then will be what's called the organic section that comes back. Both sections are vital. Some is industry dependent, but there's very few industries or clients, both our B2B and B2C clients now, that we don't recommend that they play a role in both spaces. SEO will get you higher rankings in that organic section. It does tend to be the more trusted section of search on Google, so you'll want to really focus on that. There's all kinds of ways that you can, incorporate that. Normally, most of those ways, beyond doing your blog regularly, which is a really fantastic way, Google very, very much favors fresh content all the time. We always also remind clients to think of, when you're thinking about your website and you think of Google as a business, Google's client is who? Their actual customers is us as searchers. And so their customers aren't me as an ad agency that's placing a whole bunch of media on there for clients or anything like that. It's us as searchers. And if we don't have good results when we go on to Google to search to find, the nearest whatever store we're looking for service, then we may start using a different search engine. Bing's search percentages might go from 1% to 2% very quickly. You never know. But Google does an amazing job of forcing, essentially, agencies like mine and all of us that live in the web world to put out a good product, because they want us as consumers who are searching to have a great experience when we're on Google. So they will do things. So keep that in mind when you are thinking about your website. So what they will do, a few years ago, if you're familiar with responsive web design, it means your site was developed to respond to any device that it's being opened on. The older way to develop was a mobile site and then a desktop site. Now responsive is not even new anymore, but about 2 years ago, for example, Google said, if your site isn't responsive, we're going to penalize you when people are searching for your product. So we're going to prioritize sites that are responsive over yours that isn't. Even though your site might be great or your service might be better or anything, our job as Google is to make sure that when somebody clicks on that site, if they're on their mobile, they're not doing the like scroll over, awkward zoom in, zoom out thing. They want those people to have a good experience. So think about that. So you want fresh content. Google automatically sees as you must be some sort of relevant, happening company because you're always posting to your website. So fresh content they prioritize, responsive they prioritize, load time they prioritize, meaning if you put on a ton of huge video files or large photography files to your site and your website takes forever to load on, our patience level every single day as consumers is decreasing significantly. And I'm sure you all have been impatient already today and clicked out of something or did something. So that load time, Google also wants you to not have that. So a lot of times clients will say, can we have a rotator? Because I can't pick between 2 photos. I want 17. A rotator as a hero image. No, because of the load time. So we want people to have a great experience when they get to your site. So think about that. And then incorporating keywords into your site, figuring out what those words are. Again, that all ties back to goals. Is what are those words that you're trying to get in front of if somebody is searching this or that. There's some shady SEO practices, so make sure that which Google also does not like and will not tolerate, and you'll be penalized in the long run. If a company is promising you, I always tell this to clients too, if a company is promising you they can get you at the top of Google, they better have a katie@google.com email address, and if they don't, then they don't run Google, and they shouldn't be making those promises. So think about that when, because companies will reach out and be like, for $100, you can be at the top of Google. And that's potentially true for like 24 hours or something, but it's just, think about that they don't control Google. So Google does not anywhere on the planet list their algorithms for why they're doing what they're doing as far as search results. So nobody should be making you that promise. They can increase it and they can grow it and they can absolutely work on that. That should never be a commitment to a number 1 top spot or anything like that. So be wary if you are hearing that. Next up, user experience, UX. How many have heard of UX? Woo, okay. So we have I'm not sure what's going on with my slides, so I'm going rogue, but we have UX in-house. UX is somewhat newer in the last 10 years to the web world. UX basically means that in our process, as an example, if you were doing a site, you would have our art director overseeing design, creative director overseeing copy and messaging, developer obviously developing the site, and in our case, then you would have a UX person. And a UX person is someone who is only focused on what the user's experience will be while they're on your site, and they are an expert in current trends, what people are doing, and how people are going to interact, and then also focused on those initial goals. So UX being involved is really important. They do a great job traditionally of saying, we're going to get rid of those feelings and we're going to base things on facts, or we're going to base things on what's nationally happening, or different things like that. They also, there's tons of testing that they can do. So we do sites from small business card websites all the way up to sites that do 7 figures a year in e-commerce. And for those sites that are more product development sites, our UX team will go in and do testing. So A/B testing, for example, you would get to the site and your version of the site would be different than mine, and we would see like which had better likely for conversions, or really digging into that. So a UX person being involved in the building of your website process is vital. They're only there with the brain thinking about what those users on your site are going to do and how do we get them to do what we want them to do. rather than, any of the other brains that need to be part of that process. So during the website process, they're important, and then after the website is launched, they're important for solving essentially problems. So once you've got your Google Analytics set up, once you start seeing, great, we're getting a ton of traffic on this page, why are they not converting? A UX person is a great one that's who you'd want to work with to dig into solving that problem and making those recommendations. Okay, so what questions do you guys have?
The SEM and the SEO.
Yeah.
What, I don't know if you know this, but what percentage difference do you
Oh, I know it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Between these and these, how much response do these get as opposed to the organic search?
So the question is what's the response rate or click-through rate, I'm guessing you're asking, on SEM versus SEO? That is a question that would have an answer completely different based on industry, region, what you're doing, or any of that. Trusted, I think, is the focus that you should have there. People tend to trust the organic section more when they're really truly doing research and digging into something. If you are looking for a quick answer, SEM has a great response rate because it's going to be right at the top. And if you're moving fast, you're going to click on the first thing that you see that was relevant to whatever that you searched. So while they're titled very similarly from an acronym standpoint, SEO and SEM, they're very, very separate from an approach standpoint and results standpoint. Yeah.
If you, as a small business, you're working on this and you didn't necessarily have a user experience or UX person, would you ask a customer or someone you trusted to be that individual to go on before you launch?
Yeah, potentially. So that would be more from a feedback standpoint, I think. UX for us, the UX person is, after the discovery meeting, they're building the wireframes of where every single page is going to be on your website. And so, they have probably one of the highest amounts of pages of a site we've ever launched because they have so many services with so much information. So our UX person's big challenge in that was figuring out what content is necessary, what can we get rid of, and then where are all these going to live to make sure that a page inside a page inside a page inside a page can be found for someone, and in their case, who truly needs answers. That's the front end of UX. The back end, what you're talking about, is the what do you think about this and all of that. I don't know that that's necessarily tied to UX, but I think it's a great approach. And I think it's a great approach to find friends that will do that, but also industry, other professionals, maybe out of the market, so it's not, that kind of thing. But I've had a lot of luck with that, even just running Happy Medium. There's an agency out of Brooklyn, New York, that we really look up to, that's global, and I have more than once reached out to random people that work there and was like, hey, can I just bounce some ideas off of you? I'm an entrepreneur here in Des Moines. And they're so nice. And so maybe even an approach of who's similar, or who's a goal business that you want to be that's similar to yours, not in the market, just even cold call them and have that full list. Because my mom is very pro Happy Medium, no matter what I show her. Thank you. And and I love, obviously, that feedback, but make sure you're just getting that alternative view too. Yeah.
What's the effect of the move to certificate or SSL websites?
What's the effect of it?
I think Google is supposed to
Yes.
penalizing people.
They did actually in February, and they put out the warning that anybody that's site is on their search engine, which ideally is everybody's, they have the right, once they get to your site, to throw up a warning that says the site might not be secure. So SSL, a great way to tell if your site is or not, when you go to it, at the very top and where the domain is, there's a padlock to the left of that. If your padlock is open, you don't have SSL security hosting. If your padlock is closed, or the site that you're on's padlock is closed, it's SSL, and that's great. We transitioned, 3 years ago even, for e-commerce sites we built, we'd only host on SSL internally, and for non-e-commerce sites, we'd still do non-SSL, so it'd be more cost effective for clients. I would say we transitioned about a year and a half ago saying we will only host an SSL. So we don't launch sites that aren't SSL anymore. And I would recommend that everybody needs to be transferred to that. You know, if you're doing your own hosting and not having that monitored, your hosting price difference is maybe $20 a month or something. It should be pretty reasonable. So my recommendation is absolutely have SSL and check that like this afternoon. Yeah. Are they simple changes to make? We only do custom sites, but we have plugins, of course, incorporated where it makes sense for all of those. So that's tied to a clock, obviously, and we tie that to Des Moines specifically because this is where our home is. So you just have to choose, you know, what you want that to be and where you want that to be. But yeah, they're great, especially if you have a site that you really want to encourage people to keep coming back, more like small touch points. Like we had a developer find they're in the web world, fun like random things that you might have built into, like developers might build into the site are called Easter eggs. That are little like secrets hiding in there. And we've had multiple developers reach out to us since we launched our site, like so proud that they found all the Easter eggs in our site. So doing like whether it's Easter eggs or that type of like how can you be new, and just choosing like where you'd want it tied to or how to keep it fresh is so important if you have a site you want a lot of visits back. What else? Yeah.
Where does the website stand in relation to a Facebook page in terms of where people go, how often people go to them?
Yeah, so the question was where web traffic versus social media traffic. Again, very subjective to your industry or business and honestly the presence that you've built on there. We have clients who get incredible traffic on their websites that for whatever reason just aren't taking our strong advice and focusing on their social media. And so obviously then their web drives a lot of that. Retail-based clients, you know, you're gonna need your social to, if you're in the clothing industry, for example, Instagram's probably going to be one of the number one ways you're selling your clothing. And so that would drive to your website, but that's going to start on social, and hopefully you'll have more traffic on social. So also industry dependent and where your focus is. Our recommendation, of course, is to be strong in all of those places. Yeah, most of your social is going to drive back to the website, especially if you can purchase on your website or convert on your website. And that's part of setting up those goals. So if your whole plan is that you just need the client to call you or the prospect to call you, you don't necessarily need to drive back to your site. You can include that in your social postings or anything like that if you're getting that. You know, people are much less apt to call now. They want to like research you and dig into things and just think about yourself having those experiences. So driving to your site is usually a recommended next step, but drive them to your site where whatever is based on the content that you're talking about, drive them to that page. Don't drive them to your homepage and then make them find what they were just looking for. So if you were posting about a blog you did on a specific thing, link it to that specific blog. So many people will link it to your homepage and then they get lost and then they give up and abandon. Yeah.
How do you drive traffic to a site?
You hire an agency. The question was, how do you drive traffic to your site? That also is so many different strategies, of course, dependent on what you're doing. Certainly, there really, truly isn't a world anymore where it doesn't make sense to necessarily be doing Google AdWords. Those are such a low bar, you know, choose your market that you're in, or choose the zip codes that you want to be in. Then you get to choose exactly what somebody is typing in. So if somebody's typing in 50309, or really for us anywhere in the Midwest and things like that, I need a new website. I need that person to know about Happy Medium. So it makes sense for me to be buying AdWords for that because I'm not even gonna then pay until they click on that ad. So that's a great like baseline strategy that for our clients that we're taking digital or helping them, we always start with because it's such a direct tie to a lead. You know, other than that, a lot of blog writing, certainly, but we're very anti putting up a blog on your page if you're not going to update it. So blogs can drive a ton of traffic, but they can also make you look irrelevant if you're not keeping it fresh. But blogs are certainly a great way to drive recurring traffic to that. And then making sure even low bar stuff, we'll go to a ton of clients' social platforms and they won't have their website link in there, or they just haven't put it in different places or in your email signature or in, all of the different places that might be. There's a ton of options both with paid and unpaid. If you currently have low traffic, paid is going to be your initial best foundation to get that started, or if you're doing a specific campaign or sale or whatever, paid is a great option for that. And then building your website to be interesting to get them to keep coming back is the way to build on that new traffic plus recurring traffic. What else? Yeah. Good one. The question was, what's the perspective on being present in all social spaces? So for us, we very, very intentionally tell clients, you don't need to be everywhere. The only people, and we always say the only people that need to be everywhere is us, because we're testing out all of these platforms on your behalf. But other than that, we always work to build a strategy, and that's reversed from, again, goals, audience, who are you trying to get in front of, who are you trying to sell to, or who you're trying to talk to, and then figuring out what those platforms are. Now with that, my other contingency is making sure that as new social platforms come out, that you're being strategic in addressing those, and again, not doing the set it and forget it. So many people are like, well, I got a Facebook page. I don't need anything else, and that's great. And Facebook's probably one where that is a global, pretty much recommended on most fronts to all clients, and then it really breaks from there. Twitter, Instagram, none of those are standard, I would say. Facebook is the only one that we have that at this point, every client that we do their social for has Facebook. Everything else is 100% goals dependent, client dependent, and that type of thing. So we say be good. We say don't just be good at some of them, be great at a few of them, and find your audience and connect with them there. Yeah. Oh, you got to go to our website. What was the second part of that question? Oh, yeah. Is it possible to flip that to? I could do like a dance and show you, but it will be easier to do this. So animations, think about those as movement on the website. So right now, a big case in that is obviously we're working, especially as an agency, to make the internet beautiful because we all spend so much time there. So think about when you're scrolling on a website, if they had some sort of numbers they were featuring, like a case study, maybe when you scroll past those numbers are scrolling up and then they stop at the final number. A little bit higher. We have a little tagline down there that's like past the bottom of the website that says we think outside of the box too. So like you had to actively work to push past what was the bottom of our website. That's considered like a fun, most people that go to our site don't find that, but you're really kind of digging around. Yeah, so this is our site. Today it's cloudy, which is why there's these things, but you can see they're moving across the site. See those dots are moving, or if you're able to see it from back there. Can you see? Yeah. So those are moving. If it was windy, there'd be like lines going by or that kind of thing. Thank you, Christina. That's called animation. And that fact that that site's not just sitting there, it's moving is a newer trend in web design world. It has to be really well executed because it can be a heavy load time or different things like that, but it makes your site, interesting. So right now it says, so good to see you. If you come tonight, it will say good evening or, a mix of different things. So there's multiple ways that this site is changing and adapting to you as the user, to the city that we do business in, to the day, the weather. It's really thoughtful, so make your presence thoughtful. And then this tells you the story about us, that we as an agency are thoughtful, or we are creative, or whatever message you need to tell here. That's really important. And there's a lot of ways to do that beyond just a photo. Yes. So we do, even another Easter egg is our tagline, like I said, is digital with heart. As you get this mouse closer, that logo up at the top beats faster, like a heartbeat. Goes like wild. I had to have him slow it down because it was stressing me out, but I couldn't handle the pressure. But those are some examples of unique creative things that maybe not even everybody on our site or your site would notice, but these are talking points. People walk into our office and they're like, oh, I noticed this cool thing that you're doing, and they already have a really strong impression before they get to our office, and I want that for all of you for your businesses and your sites. That's the goal. You don't also have to be, I think a lot of times people look at us and they're like, well, you're a creative agency. You get to do all sorts of fun heartbeat things and say funny things. But it also has this, we assume that Steve Jobs would say that we're the best agency. So that's at the bottom of this page, a quote from him as well. So we do quirky things, but we're also doing a site right now, like, for example, for the Iowa Finance Authority. Not the most creative, fun branch on the planet, but the site, once you see it, is stunning. There's a ton of animation in it. It does its job of getting super pertinent information that a lot of people need from their services to them, and still gets to tell a really creative story. So I never want to give the impression that you have to be a creative agency to be creative or to tell your story, because everyone has a story to tell, and finding the right way to do that on your website is vital. What else?
You said make a pretty much an appointment for yourself every month.
Mm-hmm.
Frequently to update something on your website. Let's say you have a theme throughout your website, which is, I would assume, recommended.
Yeah.
Stay within.
Consistency.
How often would you recommend kind of revisiting your, I'm not saying your whole brand, but maybe a theme for your website?
Yeah.
Seasonal or annually or every couple of years?
Definitely. The question was, how often should you update your website from a visual perspective, and the theme with that? I would say somewhat of that is industry dependent, right? So Salon W, for example, they should be always having, like, what if it's New York Fashion Week, something on their site should reference that. That's something they're trying to be or be a part of. Or if it's winter, you don't want to go to their site and see like summer cuts and summer clothes and all of that kind of thing. So they're very specific in that world. So translate that to what yours is. Are you seasonal? If you're not seasonal, then seasonal would be the first question. If you're not seasonal, as long as I think you have ways, even if the foundation of your look isn't changing, but you have ways that you're updating your site, that's okay. And your site can always match that. So if you scroll down on our website, the next thing that you see is case studies for different clients that we've worked with. So for us, this part won't look different for a while. But what you will start seeing once every 12 weeks, come hell or high water, we will be posting a case study. So there's differences in that way. So think about how you can evolve without changing that foundation. I don't think it's necessary to change that. This is the 6th website in 7 years that Happy Medium has had. We do this for a living, or I would not do this for a very long time. And that kind of thing, because I totally understand that that's a lot to take on. And really the only reason even for us for this change was our logo and brand changed. So as long as you're changing elements, I feel a lot better about it staying consistent. What else? I can't tell you, that's it. I mean, that really is it. I have so many, it's very difficult for me to understand why people don't invest in their website, obviously. This is the number one place where your traffic is, where you're doing business. Our first conversations are always like, what's it gonna take to sell, to make the ROI back on this investment? And then they end up spending so much time working with a whoever, or trying to throw together a template or whatever that is. And then a year and a half in, they're like so frustrated. They've missed out on business. They They can't update things anymore. They've lost their password or whatever that case is. It's like you thought so much about what your logo was going to look like or what your building was going to look like or how you were going to treat your clients. Like these are people who don't know anything about you, and you're giving them a terrible impression by not investing and doing that. This is very important. If you were to engage with somebody, make sure that you own your website at the end of the day. Not all companies do that. We also disrupted the market unintentionally, but now we're proud of, in having our clients own their sites. So there's no like monthly fees to us that you have to pay, or you can work on your site yourself, and that kind of thing. So make sure that you're asking that question, because you still should have the ownership rights to that, and that is kind of a gray area in the web world. But making it a priority is truly the biggest thing that we see, because then people will, a year later, then they're so frustrated and they've already invested money that's now a waste, and it's disappointing, but that is my recommendation. Yeah, make it a good one.
Touching on transparency, do you feel like having a bio section in your website helps that?
Will you pull up our about? Okay, so that I would also say is industry dependent. The client type that we were having our conversation about the other day is a farming, losing my train of thought, a farming auditor kind of company, and crop auditing and things like that, and CPA. So for them, they were like, this just isn't that important. Like, nobody's gonna go dig into our profiles. For us, and then if you click on mine, Christina, for us, like, we're a very intimidating industry for a lot of people, because they're like, you could be lying to me or not, and I don't know the difference because I don't know about anything about coding websites. So for us, it was important. So we did this whole photo shoot where everybody had a desk, and then you put your own things on it that are important to you, because we already know that people coming into our office are a little bit anxious. They either have another agency they've been working with and they're maybe nervous about trading, or they're thinking about finally investing in this, but it's a really big investment to them and that makes them nervous. For us, then they can walk in and they're like, oh, I see that you have the National Parks passport on your desk. Tell me about that. I love to go to the national parks. And it creates this like foundation of interesting things, and builds some trust. In the CPA firm, that's you're either accredited to do that or you're not. You've passed all those things, and so there's just a different like level. They're like, they saw their photo, this is the person showing up to my farm, great. And so thinking about it from how much do our customers really need to get to know and trust us, or is this like more just transactional? Because sometimes we'll also have conversations like, not all. Some of the companies we work with have thousands of employees, and you're not going to post all of their photos. So even the discussion of whose photo should be on here, or should there even be any photos on there?
So this is a picture, not text then. So that's how you're telling the story about each.
Well, there is text below this, but yes, that is a photo, and then you would get to go see our bio and things we can't live without, and then the company. Our brand, though, is that we are a small, tight, unique company and everything. So that's what I'm trying to translate here, not anything other than that for that. So think about what needs to be translated on those pages. What are some of the biggest questions people have? What do you find resonates most with your new customers or users? And that is what I would, not only for your bio section, but truly on your whole site, needs to be reflected. Thank you.
Thank you for your expertise. And honestly, she's just a great entrepreneur just on building a business and a team. It started just as her, and you can see by her website, she has a great team. So Katie will hang out for just a little bit. Do you want to mention how they can get a hold of you since her business cards are?
One tiny snafu with the brand launch. The business cards aren't in yet. But I'm proud to say the only snafu so far. So if you need to get a hold of us on our contact page on our website, that form comes immediately to my inbox and another team member. So that's a great way to reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
She'll hang around just for a few questions too if you didn't want to ask in front of the audience. She will be here. So thank you all for being here today. I want to mention there's quite a few things happening for small businesses in June. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. You've got information on your table as well. First Fridays is our female entrepreneurship series that we do. It will be hosted here instead of the Iowa Center. So it will be on site June 1st. Claudia Chabelle is another one who has recently launched her business in the past couple of years, going to come tell us her journey of entrepreneurship. I wanted to mention June 5th is actually our iCubs outing, but the reason I'm going to mention this to you, it is $3. It's a great event to take your team to if you're a small business that your team has to, they don't even have to know how much you paid for these tickets. It includes a tailgate before, which is a hot dog, chips, dessert, and a drink for $3 and tickets to the game on June 5th. So we have quite a few companies that snatch up those tickets, take their team. It's just a great way to celebrate. Or if you're looking for a cheap family outing, please feel free to snag the tickets online to that. It's just on our website. And then some of you may have heard Facebook is hosting a community boost event. It is a free session to attend. It is June 4th through the 7th. It will take place at Franklin Junior High. It's an old junior high. They're completely flipping the space. Facebook invades, teaches you everything new that's coming. They also own Instagram, so they'll teach techniques on that. So please, you can register directly through our website to that as well, or get on Facebook, search Community Boost, and you can register there. And then June 27th, we will be back in this room. And if you have employees or you're thinking of hiring employees, the next session is all on the top 5 policies to have for your handbook and why they're extremely important. This is one snafu I see a lot of entrepreneurs get into. They don't have a handbook, and then it comes down to a termination or an issue, and there's no handbook in place. So that will be our session next month. And then also we have the save the dates for the Small Business Success Summit is out November 9th. We will be back at the Ankeny FFA Center, $79 for the whole day. Our kickoff again will be Google, will be our keynote coming in, telling us everything coming for 2019, as well as 2 other great keynotes that will be announced shortly. So registration is open for that. If you'd like to get an early jump on it, those tickets will probably sell out this year. We were close to capacity last year. So thank you all for being here, and enjoy the nice weather out there today.